So after last week's presentation, Lacy Castleman from our instructional design department, hopefully everybody's gotten to view that if you weren't there. Lacy, I can tell you I am pumped about my next course design. In fact, I'm starting that in June, and I'm going to have your presentation open
Aw.
right there as I go through everything. We're taking our very first class, which is, I guess, my baby. I don't know if that's okay to call it that, but I've been teaching it since I started here 8 years ago. And got to do the redesign a few years ago, and I didn't know it was time, but it's time to update again. And like I said, well, I know what I'm gonna absolutely be inspired by. So I'm actually really excited about it, and that's all from what you had to present, Lacey. So,
Well, that is like means the world to me. Thank you. I'm so glad. And that's really what I was hoping to do is just to kind of share some ideas and some of the research I've learned and to help encourage discussions and thoughts and planning just like that. So thank
yeah,
you. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Oh, you got
And
it.
really today, all I wanted to, I know I'm not supposed to talk too much, so I don't have much planned other than saying, I hope one of the main takeaways that I can highlight is um, that I really would, or we would, the ID team, I think I could speak on all of us, but what the research that I found too really recommends comparing all or combining all those strategies. Like we talked a lot about authentic learning, but what I really want to focus on is how we can use those strategies with AI centered assignments as well. So even if students are using AI, we're not taking away their authentic learning. We just have to be more intentional about how we incorporate it and how we build it into the assignment. Because AI is getting better and better, and actually, if y'all don't mind me getting a little off topic, but I talked to somebody at my daughter's school the other day. He is a financial wealth manager, and I'm such a nerd. He was probably just like, why don't we just watch our kids? Because it was field day. But I was like, hey, like, we were just kind of chatting, but I was like, do you mind if I ask, like, do you guys use a lot of AI? What are you using? And I was blown away. He said, "Oh yeah, I use it in almost everything I do. Before I go into a meeting, I like share information about my clients and I tell them what questions I should ask them. And even though I already have those plans, it's just helpful to get another set of eyes, see if there's something I missed. They have tools for when they are working in meetings to automatically collect the financial data and represent it in graphs so that like it takes the details from the conversation and they can focus on the client relationships.
Wow.
Um, and there was another thing, like they have special tools tailored to financial planning that they've purchased to help them with analysis. So they'll put together an analysis and compare it with the AI tool or have the AI tool help them. And he just hearing him go on and on, I was like, wow, like I can only imagine what we could learn from people in the industry from all over on how they're using it and you know find a way to implement that into our classrooms, right? Because students are going to go into the workforce and everybody's already going to be using these tools.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really exciting to learn about, and I also felt a little intimidated. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to interview every person in every industry to learn about every possible thing that we can do. um, so anyway, so today I guess I wanted to ask y'all if you have any assignments or ideas that we can talk through, kind of just have a chat about, talk through different ideas or what you're doing in your classroom. Um, but before then, I was just going to show you just a very brief demo on like ways to use ChatGPT to create an assignment. Is that okay?
That sounds great.
And again, very brief demo. So feel free to come off on mute if you want to like chime in and add to the prompt. But I really wanted to show how to tailor prompts, because if you're new to AI or ChatGPT, maybe you haven't been comfortable using it before. I know my first few prompts, I didn't really get much helpful information back. So it took me a while to realize how to really get a good detailed prompt. Okay. I might need to log in here actually. You'd think I would have been logged in already. Okay. Oh no, I'm in. Okay, so for example, like if you're new and you haven't used this before, you might just say, create an assignment on creating a mind map for these concepts, right? That could get you anywhere, and too much information that might not be incredibly helpful. So instead, one of the things that I talked about in the presentation was being as specific as possible. So tell ChatGPT its role. So you are a higher education instructor for an online. Okay, somebody tell me a subject. What program are we in?
I'll pick on Dina, communication.
Yeah, you can do communication. I was about to say the same thing.
Communication program for undergraduate students. Okay, so that's the role. We're gonna do, let's give it some context. Oh wait, we gave it the context. Online, okay, sorry. The role is higher education instructor, right? Context,
Can you
online
explain real
program.
quick? Sorry, Lacy.
Yeah,
Can you explain what you mean by role? I think
yes,
some of us may not have know why a role, making a role is important in this prompt.
thank you. Yes, role is really, I would just describe it as what role you have when you're creating an assignment. So you want to tell the prompt or the chat bot what role they should take. So if it were me, I would say you're an instructional designer, right? Give it the lens that it needs to create the item that you're asking for. So I mean it quite literally. You can tell it the job role that you are wanting this to come from. So if you are a college professor or a subject matter expert, you can tell that chatbot that like you've been hired as a subject matter expert to develop a course for an online program. So very specifically, like the job role behind what you're asking for. That's a great question. And then adding in context. So that can also be a part of the role, further clarifying that role with context, right? So we could have just said, you're a teacher, right? But instead, we're going into, no, you're a higher education professor or instructor. The program is online. The subject is communications program. These are undergraduate students. So the context is as much detail around that role as you can include. Now, it doesn't have to be this complicated, right? You can always start with a basic prompt. So if this is, as we elaborate on this prompt, please know you don't have to go this far every time, but it's helpful. Okay, now let's add in some parameters. So here, if we're using this for assignment development or assignment revision, to add in parameters or goals, I would say I would use parameters kind of loosely with like, let's give it some direction, right? Let's give it a learning objective, a weekly objective if you're in course development. What are we trying to get students to learn from this assignment? As well as any additional purpose that you'd like to include. So can somebody give me just any example at all? Helpful if it's related to communications. So Dina, we might be picking on you, but other people can join in as well. What would be a good weekly objective or a goal for an assignment that anything that you can think of?
Usually, one of the important things in public speaking communication is analyzing your audience, knowing your audience. So could we use that as an objective, creating like an understanding of audience analysis or something like that?
How do you measure that?
Usually it's how we do it in the class is understanding demographics. There's some stereotyping that happens in that, but whether it's a male or female led audience, educational level, things of that nature.
Okay, so students are going to need to analyze the audience with reference to demographics, educational level. It doesn't have to be specific. We can say, etc. We've given it some ideas. And how can this relate to the curriculum, Dina? So how does this prepare them for their goals in developing communication skills? Is this
Um,
to help them develop a better speech? Is this to help them
yeah,
develop a
to help them
presentation?
write a speech that connects with the audience.
So you'll notice here, guys, that these are notes, right? I am not gonna sit here and tweak this to make sure it's absolutely perfect writing objective terminology. You can, usually at this point, if you're in the course development process, you probably already have a written learning objective, right? Since we're going on the fly here, I'm just putting all these notes in. It doesn't have to be perfect, especially when you're just jotting down some ideas when you're working with your chatbot. Okay. So, but on the other hand, if we were starting from the very beginning, we could we could use this right here, stop right here and say, write a weekly objective or write a learning objective that is clear, specific, and measurable. And we can actually, we could use that as well. But we're doing assignments because I know we don't have that much time. We're already halfway through, and I said we were going to get to discuss it. Okay, so we've given them a purpose, a goal, some parameters. Another parameter or specific would be maybe the format. So, Dina, any suggestions? I'm picking on you on preferred format. What would be a great way for them to analyze an audience? Or we can have
And just a
AI
question,
suggest
we're having,
them.
we're having the AI write the objective for me? Is that what we're doing, Lacy?
Oh, no, we are going to have them write an assignment for us. So
An
let's
assignment.
keep
Okay.
going. We can actually have them recommend a format for us.
Okay. Yeah.
So we've given them some goals, and then let's say, I think there were a few other suggestions on the prompts, but I know we're probably running short on time. So what we can actually do here at this point, this is my favorite tip, is, oh, actually, we forgot to tell it to create an assignment. Alrighty. I'm going to break this out so we can all talk about it and see it together. So we've given them a role. We've asked them what we want it to do for us. And we've given them a purpose, some parameters, some goals for what the assignment should include. And now we're going to say, ask me questions to help create the assignment if needed. Okay. So I just want to highlight, there's lots of different ways you can tailor the prompt. You can pick any of those tips to come up with your prompt. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the more that you add in, the better results you're going to get. I always recommend adding this here at the end because it can come up with some great answers to help. And so in this case, it looks like we did a good enough job because it didn't ask us any questions. That happens too sometimes. If you start with a really vague request and then you add this question at the end, it'll ask you more questions. So the more specific you are, then it might not actually ask you any questions. Okay, so here's one example. Audience analysis report. So students will select or be given a specific scenario. So see how right off the bat, it's not giving you a completed assignment, right? But it's giving you a brainstorming starting point. So the instructor will still have to come in and provide the context, right? Are they providing case studies? Are we providing students instructions on how to select a case study? Or extra credit, are students going to use AI? Not technically extra credit because that's not allowed. Bonus points, though, is what I mean, for just good vibes. Or can students use AI to create a scenario? Right? So, okay, I'm getting off track, but just know we're not getting a final product here. We're getting a starting point to help with brainstorming. So students can select or be given a speech to address a panel. Right? So we've got some options here to help give you some ideas. Then they'll conduct an audience analysis. And here are some examples on what they might use for that analysis, right? This is again where the instructor would come in and actually fine tune this so that it aligns with what they want students to analyze. Okay, even giving some ideas for pre-writing the activity. Another example, format multimedia. So they can have an option of format. Now the students are creating audience personas, and now they are actually providing content. So that's showing them the actual analysis from the inside, right? Kind of looking at it another format. And then here is a way to incorporate it through discussions. Now, I've talked way too much. I just wanted to demo getting together a good prompt, having some ideas, and how ChatGPT really just gives you a brainstorming point to start with. Again, it's not a final product, but it's a helpful brainstorming tool to kind of get you over that initial writer's block to just give you some ideas. Again, another follow-up prompt can help more and more. So we'll take it, let's say we want to do option 2. We can tell ChatGPT, I want option 2, but help me make it more AI resistant, or help me tell students how to incorporate AI. So those follow-up prompts and tailoring it will help you get an even more helpful outline to start. That's as much as I can do in a short amount of time, and it ended up being a lot longer than I thought. I'm sorry, but so yeah, any questions, any thoughts, any ideas that y'all want to share, or how do you feel about getting a starting point that way from chatbots? Yes, Amanda, thank you. If you aren't getting what you want, keep going, keep trying, keep tailoring. That's a great point. And ChatGPT can remember. Thank you, John, for the thumbs up. ChatGPT can remember content too. So when you're working, let me share my screen, since I'm going to keep going until somebody stops me. So please don't be afraid to stop me, but it'll save in your history over here on the side. So you can start a new chat for a different assignment. Let's say we have a whole other course we're working on, because what happens if you're working in this same chat, once you start a new assignment, it'll still save this information in the background, which is fine. Like if it's for the same course, then maybe that's helpful. But if you're trying to switch to a different subject completely, just know that this prompt is still in the background and it can impact how it answers. So it's good to know if you want to change subject or you want to start a new prompt, click the new chat to start fresh, or you can visit previous chats. Like if you're logged in, it can save it and you can go back and keep building on that knowledge base. Another point I want to add though is, especially if you're using the free, even the paid access, I just have the free access, but the character memory does run out eventually. Like it doesn't seem that limiting, but it can be if you're providing a lot of text or sharing documents or something. I think the free is like once you get to like 3,000 characters or something. I'm not sure about the word limit. I'm sorry, but at some point, ChatGPT will lose that initial info that you give it, and it'll just go off of the most recent memory. So just keep in mind the free tools can lose some of the memory because they don't save all of your prompts the more you go on and on. Any other thoughts?
So I'm just curious, if we use this for course development, and let's say we have it help us write some objectives and then write an assignment. I'm just curious, are we going to need to cite it somehow in the course? How does that work as far as referencing it the same way we ask our students to?
I mean, I think that's a great question. I don't know if I feel comfortable providing an answer on what would be required, you know?
Okay.
It's kind of, Drew, it's an interesting category, right? So the APA has come out with citations for how to use, mostly because we've been asking our students to cite it, right?
Mhm.
But it's kind of similar, right? We don't really cite Google when we go search through Google, right? And search a bunch of different answers. We then cite the final product. So I would say, I would be shocked if anybody's using this truly from like you're copying and pasting from
Right.
chat.
I wouldn't see that either. Yeah.
But I think it's good practice to encourage your students to show them that it's okay. I think a lot of our students are not citing because they don't want to get in trouble for
Mhm.
citing it, right? So I think it's a great practice to do things like, hey, this assignment was adapted from Google Gemini or the Khan Academy or things like that, right? Kind of similar how we would give credit to if we are modifying a table from a textbook, right? And we developed an assignment with it. That is good practice. Do we always do it? No, but it is good practice, right? So I think the more we can show our students that we're using these tools and we're helping, I think is a huge positive. I've seen journal articles are now accepting the use of Chat GPT in it. I'm hearing dissertation committee members are running dissertations through Chat GPT and asking it to give it feedback on how did that student do on the dissertation process. I mean, it's fascinating to see where this is going. So
I'm thinking about some potential research, and I thought, man, I'll see what ideas ChatGPT could give me on the actual methods.
mhm.
You can
Yeah.
train ChatGPT too. I think you might have to have the paid, I'm not sure, but I know one of our IDs, Irina mentioned that she has she's paid for the pro, and she asks it to provide her with like three like new articles on like trending topics, and she's like really tailored it, but like every day she gets an email at the same time on like latest articles on instructional design and trends in AI. And so it's been, I thought that was cool. Like I'm always hearing about new ways that people are using it. So to help with, like you said, Drew, research, but it's like it just comes in your inbox.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to note too is just using it for revision. If you, let's say you've got a lot of, like you have a great assignment, but you noticed it's really lengthy and it's taking up quite a bit of space, you can copy and paste your full assignment into ChatGPT and say, hey, revise this to be less than 300 words, or reorganize this so that it's easier to read. And and you can even say, use the exact words that I have, keep as much of the current text as I had. So but it's your content, it's just helping you polish it up.
Yeah.
Some fun stuff.
I'll show you guys how to get to your Google Gemini too. If you don't know, it's in those three little dots, or in these dots up here where all your Google things are. There's Gemini right here. That's how you can get to it, and it'll be signed in with your account. And then you can switch to the different versions of Gemini. If you haven't played with the 2.5 one, it's pretty cool. It will tell you its thinking process and how it arrived to different scenarios. So it's really, really cool. My favorite, if you're just like not even sure where to start, Ethan Mollick has a newsletter he puts out, and he kind of just at a really high level talks about what's happening in AI, what's it going, and he shows examples. So he shows, for like a year ago, he asked the AI prompt to say, give me 5 cheese logos for a company, and they're really bad logos, right? Now he puts it into Gemini 2.5 and said, give me logos, make me a website, make me a brand, tell me which logo you picked and why. And I mean, the output is truly amazing. So it's really, really cool to see. And it takes you through the logic. I picked this brand because based on this competitor who's doing really well in the marketplace, this would be a good competition. And this name is consumer friendly based on this research. So it will take you through the thought process that it had to arrive at its conclusion. So really interesting implications for, what would we ask, a student to look at this analysis, right? And say, what did it get right? What did it get wrong? So really cool.
It's big topics in chats, guys. I know as time goes on, we're seeing that bigger and more impactful effects, and lots of gray area, of of what is okay and what is not. So I'm glad I'm not being asked to provide the answers on those things, but it's really interesting to stay in the know and keep up with all that. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts? Amanda, thanks for showing us the Gemini.
Any other questions on AI we can help answer? Lacy, thanks for the demo. That was really cool.
I'm sure there are just endless ways to use all of these tools, but I hope it's helpful to just get started. I know sometimes when their new tool comes out and it's like just seems scary. So I think working on prompt generating can kind of help with any tool that you're working with.
And I do
Thank
know
you,
the
guys.
library and the writing center is doing a like how to cite with AI. So they're going to be doing a demo for your students pretty soon. Faculty, of course, can come. I have the details on that. But I think, you know, Drew, we can also lean on our writing center staff too on how we can best support adaptive work from AI in course development too.
Yeah. Great.
And Dina, thank you. You let me pick on you. Thank you so much for your help and your ideas and helping us brainstorm to do a practice activity.
Of course, anytime.
Yeah. Lacy and Amanda, thank you so much for your time and for your knowledge. This is so fascinating. Jason Martin, an MFT faculty at Abilene, has set up through ChatGPT a virtual client, an AI client that we therapists can go in and have a session with. So
Wow.
I'm ready for when can ChatGPT mimic a couple? That's what I want to see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if you teach the same course over and over again, I've seen a lot of folks are setting up a ChatGPT tutor. So you feed it all of its content, all of your syllabi, all your assignments, and then the students have access to this tutor that they can interact with, but it's only got the information from your course, right? So it knows all of your course information. So it can, hey, I don't understand this concept. Well, it reads the same articles that you've built in your course, right? Really fascinating stuff. So Drew, if you teach the same course over and over, we might have to set up a AI bot for you.
I'm wide open all of a sudden. I've been
Yeah.
scared of it too, but
I
you've
know Pearson
dispelled
is
that.
doing, oh, I'm sorry, Drew, go ahead.
No, I was just saying you helped. You have tremendously helped dispel my trepidation. So
Good. But yeah, Amanda, Pearson, so the courses that I teach at other institutions I use Pearson's MyLab for accounting, and they have a chat AI bot, but it's like beta, and they didn't really tell anybody that was available. I just like saw it there, and it's amazing. Like it tells you like it goes into why, like you tried to test it with like why is this used in this formula, and it had it told me the purpose, and it cited like the page on the book. It gave me like exhibits, like it was awesome.
My last plug, Notebook LM, I think is a really cool tool. A lot of students are using this where they upload all of their stuff to it, and then they can ask it to quiz them, make me study guides. It will turn it into a podcast so they can listen to it. So you could feed it all of your research articles and have it play it back to you as a podcast. I imagine lots of students will be using this in their dissertation now, right? Because it organizes all, like I'm thinking of all my things with highlights everywhere right now. Imagine this to say, hey, make me a mind map between these 5 articles and tell me what overlaps. I mean, so super cool, but I would encourage you all to get in there and just start playing. So
right.
And share what you do with us. I'm all about getting more and more ideas. So if you find a tool that you find super helpful, please share or let us know, or at least chat me about it. I want to learn more.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you again, you two, and everybody else for being here today. And until next time.